Hey there, Internet friends. Welcome to Round 5 of Season 2 of That Ultimate Video Game List Show. I'm your host, Trevor Starkey from ThatNerdySite.com, and this is the show where each season me and a panel of friends get together to create the ultimate top 20 video game list with two main bits of criteria. Only one game per franchise, and only one game per console. Joining me on Season 2, we have Scott White from Irrational Passions and DualShockers. How you doing, Scott?
Oh, hey guys. Doing well. Yourself?
Doing good. The chaotic neutral Scott White, the wild card, the anti-hero Scott White of Season 2.
The mischief maker.
The mischief maker, indeed.
Oh my god.
We have podcast aficionado, the Knight of the Old Republic, Brandon Gann. How you doing, Brandon?
Oh, you flatter me so much. Thank you. Final four picks, people. Let's get this going.
Yeah, we are down to our final four games in this episode. We have Jonathan Zyger Landeros from My Xbox and Me. How you doing, Zyger?
Doing great. I hope everyone's having a fun time.
Yep. I mean, if not, chaos will reign. So let's have a blast with that.
Chaos already reigned.
Yes, it's true. Chaos will continue to reign. And rounding out the squad, we have Aaron Mahler from the Scootcast. How you doing, Aaron?
Oh, I'm just absolutely fantastic.
Great. Peek behind the curtain. We were recording this like immediately after round 4 pretty much because with the scheduling of everything, Scott and I were going to be at PAX. So rather than miss a week, we're going to have this one ready to go when we get back. So if we're a little loopy or worn out, it's because we've already been podcasting together for an hour or so. And we are here at the end of the game selection for the series. So before we dive into our round 5 and potentially round 6-ish picks, a little bit of housekeeping. If you like what you hear, please remember to rate, review, like, subscribe everywhere you can. And if you are feeling generous, you can support That Nerdy Site over on Patreon at patreon.com/thatnerdysite. If you are brand new to the series, the way the show works like this: for the last few weeks, our panel has been taking turns each week adding games to the list with two main bits of criteria: one game per list, or one game per franchise, one game per console. So once a game is added to the list, all other games from that console or from that franchise are out of the running for the future. So last week, for example, we will talk, Zyger brought Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U to the list, eliminating any other game from the Wii U and eliminating any other game from the Super Smash Bros. Franchise. He might have already submitted or he might have put forth the Switch version, but the Switch had already been taken out of the running by Aaron, bringing Xenoblade Chronicles to the list. So that's kind of the gist there. Games can be submitted for any platform that they have been released on, though. So we've had, for example, let me look and pull up. We had Halo Reach had been released as part of the Xbox collection, or the Master Chief collection on the Xbox One, and that is actually where that game got submitted, not for the Xbox 360 where it had been originally released. So games that have been remastered can be considered, games that are part of collections can be considered, but the collections themselves may not be submitted as a single title. Each panelist also has one veto that they can use to keep a game from the list if they want to kind of keep that franchise or that console open for their own pick. So back in season 1, or back in episode 1, Aaron had attempted to veto Scott's pick of Diablo 2 for the PC. However, the rest of the panel can override a veto, and that is exactly what happened. Brandon and Zyger overruled Aaron's veto, meaning Diablo 2 stayed on the list. But at this point here, as we enter our final round of game submissions, Zyger, Brandon, and Scott all still have their veto intact. Brandon has repeatedly said he's not planning on using any veto, so unless he does a full heel turn here in this final round, and throws out somebody's pick, I imagine that will remain the case, but Zyger and Scott still have a veto that they can use if need be. So we'll see if Scott can finally get Zyger to pull his veto out of the running here. So once this episode is done, we will have our 20 games for our list, and then the show will switch into ranking our top 20, 5 games at a time for the next 4 weeks. And the number one game at the end of everything will be retired into the That Ultimate Video Game List Show Hall of Fame, joining God of War from Season 1, and the games will be ineligible for future seasons. So running down a quick recap of the 16 games that currently make up the list. We have Super Mario Galaxy for the Wii, Halo Reach for the Xbox One, Final Fantasy VII for the PlayStation 1, Diablo 2 for PC, Kirby Air Ride for the GameCube, Uncharted 4: A Thief's End for PS4, Metal Gear Ghost Babel for the Game Boy Color, Persona 5 for the PlayStation 3, Kingdom Hearts the original for PlayStation 2, Bubble Bobble for the NES, Pokemon Heart Gold for the Nintendo DS, Grand Theft Auto 5 for the Xbox 360, Mischief Makers for the Nintendo 64, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 for the Switch, Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U, and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic on the original Xbox. So, kicking off round 5, we are back into the original rotation that started us off in round 1. So, Aaron, you get the first pick. Hit us with your it will be your final pick of the series, because even if the other 3 games get vetoed, we will not make it back around to you in a round 6. So hit us with your final pick.
So I'm going to do something weird for this final one. I have 2 games left on my personal list of what I wanted to try and make it on here with, and I've marked them as A or B. I'm going to give you guys the option to choose without knowing which one I am putting out.
Oh.
So, unanimously
C.
A or B.
All right, so it sounds like Scott's trying to get C on the list.
Honestly, selfishly, if I knew what the consoles were, I'd be able to make a better informed decision. And
Same.
fun fact, I actually had this idea if by chance the 360 would have come back to my 4th pick. But, without any other information other than 2 letters, A or B.
I can give you the consoles.
Okay.
One of them is a 3DS game. One of them is a Vita game.
Vita.
Oh.
I'm not
Alright.
telling you which is which.
Okay. I'm gonna go A.
You're gonna go with A. Anybody else?
Just to cause mischief, I'm going B.
All right, so Brandon
That's
has to
A, B.
be the tiebreaker.
Brandon, you're the tiebreaker. A or B?
I am really, 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 really hoping what I'm picking is the Vita one, so I'm just going to say B.
B. All right, so for my pick, it's going to be Animal Crossing New Leaf for the 3DS.
All right.
That's B.
Animal Crossing New Leaf. All right. Tell us about Animal Crossing New Leaf.
Until March 20th, it's the best Animal Crossing game to ever come out.
All right.
And they've moved in the Animal Crossing series. They've moved from just being like your villager to then now you're in New Leaf you're the mayor, and then in New Horizons you can just screw with everything as much as you want. But I think the mayor
In New Horizons, you own an island.
You own an island.
You don't own anything.
Yeah. You're leasing
right.
an island from Tom Nook.
Tom Nook, own you.
But in New Leaf, I think the mayor part of it was the best way to get the ability to craft the town to what you wanted while still having that sort of like you're part of the neighborhood. You're part of the neighborhood community and stuff like that, right? Instead of just like sort of Sims style being able to just create what you want at will, which was kind of the best part of Animal Crossing, is being part of that community. And it being handheld made it so much better for pick up and play ability to just kind of, I'm going to screw around in my town for 10 minutes while I'm on the bus or something like that. And it's for a long time, that was the game that was in my 3DS, that was in my pocket for many, many years. I played just the crap out of New Leaf, just customizing my town and talking to my villagers and collecting making my house look as cool as possible.
Nice. Animal Crossing is a series that for myself, I've just never, like, I remember having, playing it on the GameCube, and my sister and I were living together in that was like early college for me at the time. And so like we would, like both kind of share that save. And so like when she was at school or something, I'd hop in and play a little bit, and I'd like leave her a little note or something like that. And then, and when I was at school, she'd hop in and play and stuff. But like the thing I remember most about that original Animal Crossing was like getting the little NES ROMs in there and playing like original Nintendo games, and then just for whatever reason, like the game itself never really like hooked me or grabbed me after that. That said, I like with the Direct having aired 2 days ago as of recording, and seeing like Joey and Greg and Gary Whitta like gleefully excited about New Horizons. I'm like, am I going to pick up the new Animal Crossing? I might. So still have not like put in a pre-order, but it is on my list. Is like, that seems like a game I would certainly enjoy the charm of, and that kind of gameplay style. Zyger, I'll throw it to you. Do you have any Animal Crossing, New Leaf or otherwise, thoughts you want to share?
New Leaf is probably the only Animal Crossing game I actually played, and it was back when Nintendo did like their reward system. I actually got New Leaf, a digital copy of New Leaf for free because I saved up enough points, and they were like, here's a 3DS game. I'm like, the choice was either Donkey Kong or Animal Crossing New Leaf. I picked New Leaf. Isabelle was introduced to New Leaf, from my understanding. She is the best character by far. I don't know many of the other characters. There's like a million of them, but Isabelle, best girl. The game I thought was fun. I was a little hesitant at first because of how the game introduces mechanics early on. It like stops you from playing at certain points. Like, okay, come back tomorrow to do this, and as you continue to play, you unlock more and more things that you can do. So at first, it was a little weird not being able to like do everything I want to do out of the gate, but slowly get introduced to things. But all in all, New Leaf, great game. I didn't spend too much time with it, but I enjoyed what I did, and I respect how much everyone loves this series and that game in particular. But yeah.
Cool. Scott or Brandon, how about you guys?
As
I'm
has been the
afraid to
case.
go back.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Brandon.
Thank you again, Scott. As I said in previous episodes, my Nintendo knowledge, comparatively and relatively speaking to all other systems or consoles, is just practically non-existent. I have no knowledge in the ins and outs about Animal Crossing or the 3DS for that matter. So once again, for a Nintendo pick, I can't really say anything else.
All right, Scott.
I'm afraid to go back to my New Leaf Village because it's been so long since I've played, so I'm just staying away. I don't want to get yelled at.
Your town will be so angry that you've abandoned them.
Yeah, so I just don't go back. I should just erase them from existence and start over.
Yeah, that's a way better metaphysical like.
That's a way to avoid confrontation. I'll just erase them.
Only one
from
of them
existence.
will remember.
Yeah.
You mean one of them will remember?
Yeah, when you delete your save, the mole guy's like, hey, you deleted your save. I remember what you did. No one else will.
Well, shit, now
I think
to
you're
just
remembering
throw it away.
Undertale.
Now I have to throw it away
he's
and
right.
just get a brand new cartridge.
Animal Crossing does that too.
I mean, yeah, I remember Mr. Rossetti. I didn't think he chided you for remembering what you did.
No, Mr. Rossetti totally chastises you for deleting a town. He's like, you're about to murder all of these people. I mean, he doesn't say murder, but he's like, you're deleting the lives of like so many characters, and you're like, yep, gonna do it anyway.
That's heavy.
Yeah,
That's real heavy.
It's really heavy.
I mean, it seems right up your alley, though, Scott, as Mr. Chaotic Neutral.
No, that just means I try and keep a balance. That doesn't mean I don't feel bad when I guess I did just say I'd rather eliminate them from existence. Yeah, I guess that is kind of chaotic. I guess it's more chaotic evil, but...
No, I mean, I would say it's chaotic neutral, because if you were chaotic evil, you would go back into the game and, like, face all of them and could further destroy their lives.
I would send all the villagers notes saying that their lives were about to end, then I would delete the game. That's what I would do if I was chaotic evil.
Add insult to
Send
injury.
all the bells to me, otherwise your existence will cease. Yeah, that would be pretty chaotic evil, wouldn't it?
Well,
good game though, really good game. Can't wait for Animal Crossing New Horizons. Actually, picked up for my girlfriend's birthday and kind of Valentine's. I pre-ordered her the special Animal Crossing Switch in her own copy, so she won't steal my game.
Nice.
and system. So.
Nice. And you both can like exist on your own islands.
It's true. I can deforest and destroy her trees.
Only for best friends.
Yeah, well, she won't know how to use her new Switch yet, so I can just like hop on when she's not home and make us best friends. And then, if I need to, I'll cut down some trees and pull up her flowers.
Perfect. Yeah, you're totally chaotic good.
Right?
I'm neutral.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
Any other 3DS games that we want to give any love to? Any shout outs to?
Shout out to
Shimmy
Bravely
Cops.
Default.
Bravely Default. Yeah.
Yep, good game. I was going to shout out Shin Megami Tensei Devil Survivor Record Breaker. Great game.
What a name.
Also a good one.
Right.
Also a very good one.
Yeah.
SMT4 Apocalypse is really good. Really, all the SMT Shin Megami Tensei games on 3DS are really good.
Cool. I'm trying to think like what I ended up actually playing on the 3DS. I put a little bit of time into the Samus Returns Metroid that we talked a little bit about. I think off air. Persona's already out of the running because Persona 5, so the Persona Q games. Link Between Worlds was a fun return to the my favorite Zelda, Link Between Past or Link to the Past. It was kind of nice to like revisit that and with a great art style. Even if I didn't stick with the game because it played around with like the you can do this in any order, and I wasn't really looking for an aimless Zelda experience at the time. But yeah, and then your Pokemons and whatnot, but those are already out of the running anyway. Yeah,
Fire Emblem.
Fire Emblem, yeah, that was again like we talked about with Three Houses. Kind of feels like Fire Emblem Awakening in particular was what seemed to bring a brand new generation of
It saved
eyes
Fire
to
Emblem.
Fire Emblem, yeah. Between Fire Emblem Awakening and Sakurai's insistence on putting every Fire Emblem protagonist into Smash, people actually knew about and cared about Fire Emblem. So you had Awakening, and then you had the what was it, Conquest and Rebirth and whatever. The trilogy games, or the trio of games that I despised. Yeah. 3DS, nice little handheld, and certainly sold a shit ton as well. So, shout out to the 3DS and Animal Crossing New Leaf as the 3DS pick. Unless Scott or Zyger, are you going to veto?
No. Shout out to
No.
Puzzle and Dragons plus Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, that game had Rosalina in it, so it was good.
That was a good one.
There you go. Sure. All right. Then I will kick it over to Zyger for potentially your last pick.
Okay, the game I'm going to put on the list is a game that I talked about on episode 1 that I was like, I can add this game at any point. The game is Minecraft, and I'm nominating it on the Microsoft HoloLens because I think it's the coolest way you could play a game.
Yeah, okay. I need to look and see, is HoloLens actually commercially available, or is it still like in tech version?
I think HoloLens 1 is, but HoloLens 2 is tech only. Because last year they released HoloLens 2, but you had to be inside or whatnot. But
All right. So Microsoft HoloLens, the Minecraft. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about that.
So first off, Minecraft on its own is one of the greatest games of all time because it is a game that is essentially Legos, the video game. The game is whatever you want it to be. Sure, at first it's just a survival game. You're just one character. You have to knock down wood, build a house, survive the night. But as you continue to play the game, you can make the game whatever you want it to be. There's endless possibilities of what can or can't happen. You could focus on just creating a fortress, or if you wanted to be a farmer, you can do that. You could go into wilderness and battle things. There is an end game where you have to fight a medieval dragon or some weird floaty skeleton demon called the Wither? Yeah, with the Wither. And like, the creative aspect of Minecraft continues to evolve every day. Like in my Minecraft world, I recreated Pac-Man, Dig Dug, like a bunch of old arcade games that are workable. Like you can go into the game and actually play Pac-Man with friends. You could actually play Dig Dug or Donkey Kong. So many people recreate other types of games within Minecraft, and especially on like the PC side where you can really control what Redstone does. There are people who legitimately recreated Pokemon Fire Red in Minecraft, working on a emulated GBA with a bunch of different redstone switches and everything, and it's insane that it actually works. Minecraft is a game that's like beyond any other game that's out currently. There's a reason why it's the top seller on literally every console every month. It's always on the top 10 charts: PS4, Xbox, Switch. And I think it's either the number one or the number two best selling game of all time at the moment, because it just continues to grow, and every month there's always a new update. And the Mojang super great with the community. Every month they have a community call like, hey, what biome do you want to see the next update focus around? And the community has a lot of different inputs and what they want to do. And Mojang listens, and it's like, okay, we want to see more things happen in the mountain biomes. So we're going to add new creatures, new enemy types, new minerals. And the game constantly changes and evolves with the community and becomes something so much bigger than what it originally was back when it launched in 2009, when it was all bare bones. But now is this insane juggernaut of a franchise that continues to grow. And Minecraft started what VR had. It started what that other game mode was called. I forget off the top of my head. But the reason I picked HoloLens because it uses AR, so you can actually like create like a space on your coffee table or something to play Minecraft and like see the world around you grow and what you create built in front of you. And again, it's playing Legos in a video game. It's something, whatever your mind imagines, you can do in Minecraft. It just takes a little time to figure out, but anything can be done.
Yeah, I'm looking to see, because like the HoloLens itself was like released at like a $3,000 to $5,000 like release price, and there's not an official Minecraft release date for the HoloLens listed. So I'm trying to like rationalize if I want to let you count it for the HoloLens or if I want to push you to a different system.
I can push it to Ouya. It's fine.
What was Minecraft on the Ouya as well?
It was.
All right. I mean that well, yeah, because and that was because that was just running off of Android stuff anyway. So since I can't find a like a formal outside of like the preview coverage that that people had of those like the HoloLens tech demo stuff, I can't find like actual like people playing HoloLens in Minecraft in like a personal kind of setting. I'm gonna go ahead and push you into one of those other consoles. So if you want to put it out there for the Ouya as well. I mean, yeah, like the promise. I remember the spectacle of that the like HoloLens demo that they showed like on stage of what that kind of stuff could do, looking really cool and amazing. But it seemed more like a CES kind of showcase of like, here's the promise of technology, more so than something we've actually received yet. But that aside, like Minecraft, certainly ubiquitous, up there, released on everything. I don't think I've ever picked it up myself, or if I have, it's like I have it on like one version of something and hopped in and was like, this isn't what I'm looking for. But I remember somebody I worked with talked about how like their, I think, boyfriend at the time worked for a server farm, and like half of the servers were dedicated to Minecraft servers, and just being like, wow, yeah, I guess there's a drastically huge need for Minecraft servers, and certainly as an outsider, some of the things I've seen built in Minecraft are like incredible showcases. Like I remember you mentioned kind of being able to build Pokemon Red in a Game Boy emulator. I feel like I remember seeing people like building like real life working cell phones within Minecraft, and that like making headlines and making news and stuff. So yeah, I mean, certainly a seemingly cool, simple idea that just blew up beyond belief. Shout out to Minecraft. Anybody else want to weigh in and give some love to Minecraft?
I guess the only thing I can say is that this is actually the second game in this entire series that I have not brought that I've actually played. And much like when Zyger introduced Halo Reach in Episode 1, I also associate this game with friends because that's the only real reason why I ever got Minecraft. You know, when it came out and it was out for several years, I just had no interest in it whatsoever. And then I had a friend of mine at the time really do her best to convince me to get it, and so I did, and I just my favorite memories is when I would go onto my other friends' worlds and their creations. I had a good friend of mine, he created like his own huge city, and it was like super fun to run around that entire place and see all of his hard work, and just other stuff. But eventually, as time went on, and as I said way back with Reach, when people started drifting away and off doing their own things, and also subsequently an incident I don't really like talking about, it just got to the point where we all just kind of like we were just not feeling Minecraft anymore, and I haven't touched it in years. So I've played it. I recognize it for what it is and for the phenomenon it is. It's not a bad game. It's just not my personal cup of tea, but it's still got some positive thoughts in my head because I do remember some of the stupid stuff me and my friends, we get up to. So at least kudos for Minecraft for providing us that at least.
Mm-hmm. So Zyger, I think I got to throw this at you again. Looking at the Wikipedia list of Ouya software, Minecraft is not listed, and there's a lot of forum posts being like, "Whatever happened to that Minecraft Ouya port?" And it's people basically saying, "Yeah, they didn't actually end up doing it." Like there's footage of like Pocket Minecraft playing on an Ouya, but doesn't look like maybe it made it to final release.
Oh wow!
So you want to just put it out there as like a mobile game?
Sure.
All right.
It's either that or Vita.
I mean, yeah, like take your pick then in that regard.
I'll do mobile because I'm pretty sure someone else has a Vita pick in mind.
All right. So for the third time, Minecraft for the mobile. Because yeah, I was gonna say, well, what are the other like notable Ouya games we want to shout out and give some love to? And I was like,
Towerfall Ascension.
That would be the one, yeah. But then seeing that Minecraft wasn't even officially on that list, I gotta put the right thing here in the file. So Minecraft as our mobile offering. Scott, do you have any Minecraft thoughts, memories?
I played it a little bit. I never grabbed me, so cool.
Yeah. How about you, Aaron?
I mean, I'm sure I've put more than my fair share of hours into Minecraft, but I don't know if I have like a serious opinion on it. It's just a good like fun game to play when you're looking for something to just kind of screw around in.
Yeah, it definitely strikes me as a game that I would have loved to have had like when I was a kid or like in computer class and stuff growing up, like because my era was like the era of we got to play Oregon Trail and we got to play like these weird little like math simulators where you were like setting up a lemonade stand or something like that, and you had to figure out what the optimal pricing was and nonsense like that. And so seeing that like Minecraft is those games for like a new era of students, I regret that I wasn't born 10 years later or something like that because of that. But yeah, it's one of those that I just has never grabbed me, but like I look at it as like in an alternate universe I could have seen myself really falling down that rabbit hole. So cool. Minecraft now for mobile. So any other mobile games we want to give a little a love to or shout outs to? There's certainly a plethora of them out there. I don't know.
Fire Emblem Heroes is pretty good.
Oh, yeah. It's so good.
Yep. What are the not Journey?
Sky?
Sayonara Wild Hearts.
Valley? No, Monument Valley.
Flower?
I was thinking Monument Valley was the one I wanted to give a little love to. Monument Valley 1 or 2. Was Flower a mobile game as well? I remember playing it on like PlayStation.
I thought it was. You said Journey, and it reminded me of Flower. I thought Flower was also a mobile thing.
Yeah, I don't think so. I've not played that Sky game, the follow-up from Journey, but I've heard good things. And then you have like your big money players like Candy Crush and
Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go, certainly, yeah. Would have been out of the running anyway with Heart Gold, but certainly a phenomenon in and of itself. And the Harry Potter game, if anybody hopped onto that, I certainly did for a while there.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links.
Sure.
Duel Links, Hearthstone.
I was gonna say Hearthstone. That would have been another
Hearthstone's
game.
so good.
Yeah.
Dissidia, Final Fantasy, Opera Omnia is pretty good.
Okay. I played a ton of Final Fantasy Record Keeper for years. Going so far as to say, even after I think Final Fantasy 15 came out, that it was my favorite Final Fantasy of the last like decade plus, because it was more what I was looking for from a Final Fantasy game than what we'd been getting. But I've also since played Final Fantasy 14, and I'm like, oh, actually, that's a much better game. I just can't. I get too panicky about playing with other people. So, but also Final Fantasy was out of the running from round one anyway. So yeah, those are some mobile games. You got your Candy Crushes. You got your what's the Clash of Clans? That one. Them big ones. Solitaire. Certainly something that I would still play.
Shout out to Doodle Jump.
Doodle Jump. Okay.
Does anybody remember that?
I do not.
Is that me? Is that just me?
No.
All right, never mind.
I remember playing. Back in a pre-smartphone era, I sold cell phones for I don't know 5-6 months or something like that, and it was around the time that the Motorola Razr, the very first version, was coming out or came out, and I remember playing a ton of Bejeweled on that just like while I was waiting for customers to show up, playing Bejeweled on a Motorola Razr. So shout out to that game as well.
Shout out to Snake on the old T9 phones.
Yeah, Snake. I've never even thought about it, but there's an era of TI-83 games that somebody could absolutely add to this, put on this list. And Snake was certainly one that I played a ton of at the time. Yeah, all right. Minecraft added to the list. And let's take it to Brandon. Brandon, what are you going to bring to the list for round 5 and potentially your last pick?
Oh, I'm pretty sure it is my last pick. As I said right before,
I guess it definitely would be.
Yeah, right before I nominated KOTOR in last week's episode, I said I had one that was higher on my personal top games list, more so because of platform, and so I'm very thankful that it was available. I'm going to pick something that while I own the PS2 version, and it's something I actually went back to after we recorded episode 2, because I just wanted to make sure to revisit that, make sure it holds up, and it does to me. I'm nominating it for the arcade, because that's actually where it came out first, and my final pick for this season is a game called Gauntlet Dark Legacy.
Gauntlet Dark Legacy, okay. So I'm not familiar with this particular game, but I'm guessing it's in the Gauntlet series, so it's, multiplayer. You've got like a warrior, a Valkyrie, a thief, and a mage.
So
the 4 archetypes. Yeah.
So in the original Gauntlet, the original 4 archetypes were in fact, as you just listed, I think they were wizard. I think it was archer or thief, one of the two, and then of course Valkyrie and warrior. But Gauntlet Dark Legacy, initially came out in 2000. It was kind of like a sequel of sorts. Basically, with it being a completely 3D third-person RPG, they added 4 new classes that were like mirrors to the other 4 classes. So the new classes were a sorceress to go alongside the wizard, the jester to go alongside the archer, the dwarf to go alongside the warrior, and the knight to go alongside the Valkyrie. And Gauntlet Dark Legacy basically, you pick any one of those 8 classes you want to pick, and they have their own special stats or whatnot. And it is up to 4 players if you own a platform that the game is on that supports that. But basically, you go through each one of these 8 realms, and each realm has like 4 or 5 quasi-linear levels that you go from point A to point B, and at the end of each realm is a boss. And this is a game where you have to manage the amount of gold you get to where you can buy keys, so you can unlock gates and chests to get more special items. And things like, for example, some irreverent items, like you can get X-ray glasses that allows you to see into barrels and chests to see if it's worth opening or breaking, or they might be bombs in there that can explode if you're not careful. Basically, you have to get crystals for these special colored crystals to unlock each area. And so you fight all kinds of like these enemies that come out of these things called generators, and they could be things like orcs and like other kinds of monsters, and like small little what they call ankle biters, which are small little creatures like scorpions and things like that. And they're all themed around each area. And of course, when you're fighting all these enemies and you're going through trying to collect gold and find all of these secret items, like each boss has a special, unique Achilles heel, as it were. So, for example, the very first world in this game is called the Forsaken Province, home of the sorceress. And basically, it's kind of like a zombie-ish themed world. And like one of the secret items you can find there is something that's called the Parchment of Fire that actually helps you in a boss fight that doesn't come until like the 7th world, which is the ice domain. And so fire trumping the ice boss there. And so basically what you do is you go through, you look for all these items and rune stones so you can eventually kill all the bosses, collect all the shards, and then collect all the rune stones so you can beat the big bad 2 main enemies of the game. It is kind of graphically dated. You can tell it's got some age to it. It's pretty quote-unquote easy to get through if you know what you're doing. In my opinion, it's a lot more fun if you have more people that are able to play with you. Because of its age, you can only really do that in local couch co-op. But it's a game where you can just like kind of mindly tune off, and you just sit there and just mow through enemies. You can use all kinds of fun little attacks, and your potions can heal or they can hurt. It's a fun little game. It takes, and for me, my last playthrough took about 10.5 hours to go from beginning to end, and it's just a nice, fun time. My only real major criticism of the game is that it is a fixed camera no matter what you're doing, and that's kind of it goes along with some of the level design and some of the secrets to help hide certain things, because if you had free camera, it would kind of break the game and make you even more OP than you possibly can be. But it's a fun little thing. You can get secret characters. There's a secret little trapdoor you can find in each realm that gets you another equivalent. For example, you can get a minotaur that matches the warrior and the dwarf. You can get like a tigress or Medusa to go alongside the sorceress. So it's a fun little irreverent game. It's something that I found kind of early on in my childhood, and something I've held close to for much of my upbringing. And it's like one of those few games not many people talk about. So I'm using my last pick to nominate something, and much like Scott has done through the entire season, highlight a game I really care about and really want to draw attention to.
Yeah, I remember putting a ton of time into Gauntlet games over the years. Most notably, the ones I can think of are the original Nintendo, which was kind of a port of the like 1985 arcade version, and then the Gauntlet Legends. I think I played on the N64 version of it, playing that with like my sister and my dad, and we would just kind of like pick our champions and then go through. I'm curious in this one, because one of the things that they would always do, especially in the arcade games, is that in order to suck away your quarters, was that like your health was always depleting throughout. does this console version have that, or is it less? Is it more forgiving in that regard?
Oh, much more forgiving. It does not sap your health in that way because it is a home console port, at least the version I play. I know I'm nominating it as an arcade because my choices are slim pickings here at the very end, but no. Basically, the only ever time you ever run out of health in that regard is if you're getting smacked around by the enemies or if death, a certain kind of death, Reaper-like character sucks your health away, or if you're in like poison gas throughout some of the levels. But outside of that, no, pretty much the difficulty lies in just surviving, getting from one end of the area to the other, and trying to collect as much gold and keys and potions as you can to help you survive the next level or whatever you're doing.
Yeah, I think I even picked up like a PS4 version of the game. I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years ago. That was like it was nice, refreshing to go back to that kind of it is very much just like not a tower defense, but it is just like, hey, we're just gonna throw a ton of enemies at you and you're gonna kill them and use like the gold and stuff you pick up to pick up power-ups or keys or unlock chests or whatever to keep chasing a high score kind of thing. And yeah, it was like nice kind of. Like, it felt like going home again kind of feeling. Certainly not a game that I think of often, but when I do think of it, I have, like, good, fond memories of it. Anybody else have any Gauntlet thoughts, either on this specific entry, Gauntlet Dark Legacy, or any other Gauntlet? Anybody else played it? Scott, how about you?
I've played it. It never really... Like, it was a fun party game, but it was never my go-to party game with friends. Yeah, I mean... It's an okay entry. I'm kind of bummed arcade was going to be my pick for this episode, but I got some backups. But
I mean, you
cool
do have a veto, so
This is your only time you can use a veto left, Scott, because you can't veto yourself.
True. Yeah. Zyger, how about you?
I played one Gauntlet game on the Xbox 360 arcade. I cannot tell you which Gauntlet it was, but I had a fun time with it. But I don't know. I don't have a lot to say about Gauntlet or this particular Gauntlet or Gauntlet as a franchise.
That is quite fair. How about you, Aaron?
I've never heard of Gauntlet in my life.
Okay, that is fair. It is. It certainly had much more popularity in the era of arcade cabinets. And yeah, so in that vein, let's talk about other notable arcade games. Either that Scott might want to try and like put out there if he or Zyger veto this, or just in general.
Simpsons arcade game.
Simpsons arcade game. Yep,
any of the Konami brawlers like X-Men, Simpsons, Ninja Turtles. All those are classics.
Yeah, Simpsons in particular. I remember like my 10-year-old dream was like, when I'm rich, I'm going to buy myself a Simpsons arcade cabinet and I'm going to have it in my house and it's going to be cool. And the closest I've come to that is I bought it when it was on PS3. So it is in my PSN library and I was like, this is close enough. I'm good with this. But yeah, it's still like I have so many fond memories of hanging out and playing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Simpsons, X-Men with friends, like, and then you've also got like the shooter arcades, like the Area 51s, like
Dawn
Terminator 2,
or not Dawn of the Dead, but House of the Dead.
House of the Dead ones. You got your Time Crisis, right? Time Crisis or Time Splitters, whichever
Time
one
Crisis,
it is. Yeah. You got that whole series. I mean, like arcades, it's one of those things I don't think about nowadays because I'm just like, where are arcades anymore? I barely ever go into a Dave and Buster's. But when I go in, I'm like, oh, so this is what arcades are now. It feels like nowadays it's just giant mobile games. But that might just be like what I'm seeing at those instances. Yeah, I feel like arcades were one of those things that were kind of killed as a byproduct of online gaming rising to prominence. We kind of lost, split screen gaming for the most part, as well as arcades. So that like era that I think back on when I mentioned earlier, or in last week's episode about N64 stuff, sitting on the couch and playing with my friends and all of us having our little like window of the TV. That era when we would go to the arcade cabinets and like we'd go and play laser tag, and then we'd go spend an hour or two playing at the arcade stuff afterwards. Just doesn't seem like it's a thing much anymore, but that might just also be because I've outgrown it. Anybody else arcade memories or whatnot?
Yeah,
Okay.
I have a lot of arcade memories. I was too young.
Yeah, no, that's fair. All right, so I will throw it to Zyger or Scott. You still have a veto, and I will throw this out there. Like Zyger, if you choose to veto this would guarantee that you get to add one more game to the list, or potentially add one more game to the list, because we would have to bleed into round 6. So, it's certainly an option out there.
Trevor, I knew that on episode 1. And
Yeah.
the entire season, I'm planning like, if I get one game vetoed, I get a 6th pick.
Yeah.
And I've been like keeping that to myself this entire time until you said it out loud.
Yeah, it was one of those like I was definitely going to bring it up with Scott's pick. If as like a hey, you haven't burned your veto, you could just veto Scott's game regardless of what it is, and you'll get a pick. But then Scott could in turn veto your game, and Brandon will end up getting a 6th pick.
See,
certainly,
my plan was to try to convince Scott to veto Brandon's pick so he has an arcade pick, and I was going to back Scott no matter what because like I don't have a lot of arcade thing, and he wants an arcade game on the list. But now that you said that, you ruined the plan.
Yeah, well, it's all out there. So I throw it to Scott and Zyger. Do either of you want to veto Gauntlet Dark Legacy?
Scott, I will support your veto if you choose to do it.
We'll see. I don't believe that you wouldn't then veto my
I have no reason to veto your pick.
I
promise I will not veto whatever it is you pick.
You do. You have a reason because it will give you another pick.
Well, no, if he were to veto Brandon's pick, then
yes.
he would get his game on the list, and I would have no reason to veto Scott's pick.
Oh, yes. It's all about playing the game, you guys.
So, Scott, you get a guaranteed pick if you use your veto now.
That's true. Well, I don't have any other opportunity to use my pick, and YOLO. I'm using my veto.
All right.
To specifically block, but I will let you guys know what I'm going to pick in my pick quickly following this, so you can decide if it's a worthwhile game to include. Because it's specifically for arcade, and my pick will be, if this gets vetoed, if Dark Legends for arcade gets vetoed, my pick will be Marvel vs. Capcom 2 for the arcade.
That is a great choice. And I'm not saying that just because I want to support your veto, but that is a legitimately good choice.
All right. So Scott has thrown the veto out there of Brandon's Gauntlet Dark Legacy pick. Apologies, Brandon.
Question. Super quick question.
Yes.
Okay, so let's say the veto stands and Zyger gets his pick. Hypothetically, if there was another veto, who'd pick after him?
No, I thought about this too.
If you wanted to vindictively veto Zyger's game, that would give you also a round 6 pick.
Think wisely.
Assuming that Zyger that your such a veto hypothetically would be held if it got overruled and Zyger's game stayed on the list. You would not end up getting that round 6 pick.
That's fine.
But then I could use my veto on Brandon's pick and get
I
Scott
saved all the
pick.
drama for this episode, guys.
Do I get any sort of bonus gold star for forcing Brandon to use his veto?
I mean, you can take it as a point of pride if you end up getting Brandon to use his veto, but it might also end up being Zyger that gets him to use his veto because he has tried to mastermind all of this. So
I've been playing since episode 1.
all
Playing
right,
the long game.
So Scott has thrown the veto down for Gauntlet Dark Legacy for the arcade, with the admission that he plans on immediately bringing Marvel vs. Capcom 2 also for the arcade as our next pick. So I will throw it to Zyger and Aaron. Do you want to allow the veto to stand and pull Gauntlet Dark Legacy from the list, or do you want to override Scott's veto? Aaron, this could be a chance of vengeance for you.
Here's the thing, is that I hold all the power here.
I also thought about this.
Because if I say yes, the veto goes, then all of this ensues. But if I say no, the episode stops, doesn't it?
No,
We've still got Scott's pick.
Scott still has a pick. It just wouldn't be Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Okay.
Think about it this way. Look, just think about it this way. This gets vetoed.
Yeah.
Zyger gets his pick. Scott nominates. Scott gets upheld. Zyger brings his pick. I throw down my veto because I don't like being in this situation. If that veto is upheld and I get shot down by Zyger, you have an uncontested shot at getting another game on this list.
Wait, I do?
No, Scott does.
Oh,
are you sure?
No.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, Scott's
there's no way.
Because there's no way Aaron's going to get another game on the list because his veto back in episode 1 was overruled. So regardless of what happens, we won't get down as far as Aaron for the round 6 picks.
My apologies to Scott for mixing up the order between him and Aaron for the order as it's been, because that's what threw me off at the end.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. And I've accepted that. Animal Crossing, good game to end on for me. As much as I want to shut this down, I'm not going to, because I also want to see Brandon use his veto. So
I mean, he could still be
So you're
playing you
supporting the
all
veto?
and
I
doesn't
am
actually plan on doing it. So
I am supporting this veto right now.
All's
All
fair
right.
in
Also
war,
support
gentlemen.
it.
All right. So the Gauntlet Dark Legacy for the arcade, vetoed by Scott, and that veto stands. So,
I'm going to be so difficult to deal with during the ranking process.
All right, now Brandon. Point of clarification I want to bring out to you. You could veto Scott's next pick, and then we both get a pick.
Yeah. Yep. That's pretty much where this falls. Is now.
Who do
Because
I
I will
want
not-
to
I've
be
made a deal with Scott.
vindictive
I will not-
against?
What? I made a promise to Scott I will not veto Scott's pick. But if you were to do it,
But you could also
and I both
betray your promise to Scott. So.
I wouldn't
knows?
do that.
I mean, yes, you would.
No.
Yeah, you would.
Can I just say I love the fact that all it is potentially taking for Brandon to fall back from his I'm not using my veto is just one veto of his. It's like he goes from nah guys, that's cool, I'm not gonna veto your stuff. He's like, you son of a bitch, I'm going to
I would not
wreck
say
you.
that. I would use other names.
I'm going to wreck you.
It,
I love it. I love
it is very-
I love this
powerful
side
enemy.
of Brandon.
Yeah, it is very specifically this veto though as well. Like the fact that like this veto kicks off the potential like the round 6 stuff, I think is what makes it a fun little extra bit of chaos here. So maybe he will overthrow you as the mischief maker of this episode of this season, depending on how the next couple choices play out. So so yeah, we will now be going into a round 6 where Zyger will at least get to throw out a choice, because we currently still only have 18 games on the list. As we
Did you not put Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on the list yet?
Well,
I'm throwing to Scott to make his pick formal.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So Scott, you are formally putting out Marvel vs. Capcom 2 as your arcade choice?
Nah,
Or was
fam,
that
I'm
all a
doing
ruse?
Cuphead on Tesla.
No!
No, because that's what Zyger wants to do.
No, I was
almost
going to do Stardew
guarantee
Valley
it.
on Tesla.
What?
Stardew Valley got released on Tesla December 26, 2019.
All right, so
No,
so
I'm actually doing Marvel vs. Capcom. I literally just wanted to see your guys' reaction if I threw out Cuphead on Tesla.
I was about to veto you.
So yeah, Zyger, when Zyger filled out the form to be on the season, he specifically called out that he would want to bring stuff like Cuphead on Tesla, or the Ouya pick to the game. So I could easily see him doing something like that. But so Scott is going with Marvel vs. Capcom 2 for arcade. Okay.
Great reactions though. I love the no that I heard.
Yeah.
But no.
All right.
Marvel
so
vs. Capcom arcade 2.
Yeah, so before we dive into whether or not this is gonna be upheld or vetoed or whatever else, tell us about Marvel vs. Capcom 2 for the arcade.
This is probably the quintessential 2D Capcom fighters that were released in the in the arcades. It's coming up to its 20-year anniversary back on February 24th, this upcoming week. It's been out for 20 years. It's a fantastic game. It has such a rich history to it, whether it's from Evo to all the various tournaments to the memes. It's got an amazing roster. It looks fantastic, and it's just a damn good fighting game. Like, it's unbalanced and broken as hell, but it is such a fun fighting game.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, I remember playing against friends a ton, just thinking how cool it was that we were, playing all these characters or fighting all these characters. But that was well before I was in an era of, like, knowing about game balancing, so we were just button mashing the crap out of stuff and picking our favorite characters and just beating the crap out of each other with them. I specifically, weirdly, feel like I remember playing this the most at Disneyland, in the Starcade thing that they have over in, like, Star Tours Land, or that they had. I don't think it's there anymore, but, like, that's where I have, like, my most vivid memories of playing Marvel vs. Capcom. So I applaud the pick. What do you think about the obviously, like, the future games? Or has there only been a 3 at this point?
No, and there was Infinite.
Infinite.
Can we talk about Infinite?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, what have we thought about the series since? Because the most recent one did seem to, like, just kind of puff away immediately.
Infinite had a really fun gameplay system to it, but the roster and the visuals were horrendous, and the fact that it was revealed in the same press, like in the same E3 that Dragon Ball FighterZ was revealed, basically killed it on arrival. It was like DOA. It's a fun game, but it wasn't what people, like, the comic book art style was gone. We had these really messed up, fugly character models. The roster wasn't there. A bunch of them were just repeats and models brought over from Marvel vs. Capcom 3. It was sad. And
it correct me if I'm wrong, because admittedly I don't focus on this too much, but wasn't one of the arguments, like, it was being held back because it was focusing on characters that are only in the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies? So, like, you didn't have X-Men, Fantastic Four characters in there, like, filling out the Marvel roster. It was very much limited to characters that they also have the movie rights to.
Yeah,
that's all accurate.
Yeah, okay. Well, at least we have this, golden era where we had Marvel vs. Capcom 2, though.
It's coming back to Evo in a special anniversary tournament this year, so I'm super excited to watch that.
Very cool. Well, we already talked about other potential arcade stuff, so I will throw it to Zyger or Brandon. Do you guys want to veto this pick? Because what Brandon could ultimately do here is he could veto this and then still bring Gauntlet Dark Legacy for the arcade back onto the list.
Yeah, he could.
I love having created this chaos of a game.
I already promised Scott I will not veto his pick.
All right, so Brandon, then, if Zyger is going to actually uphold that, it comes to you, Brandon. Do you want to keep Marvel vs. Capcom 2 for the arcade out there, or do you want to veto it, ensuring yourself a round 6 pick, or do you want to hold off and potentially veto whatever Zyger brings to the table next?
I have a kind of clarification question about the process, and then a follow-up question for Aaron. But clarification process question first.
Yes.
Just to make sure I understand correctly, because I'm trying to make sure all my ducks in a row here, so that way I don't, unavoidably shoot myself with a shotgun in the foot.
Yep.
So you're saying that if I veto Scott's pick specifically, that's the one that guarantees me a round 6 pick, right?
No, if you veto either Scott or whatever Zyger brings next, you will get a pick because you are the pick after Zyger.
Okay, so 1A.
If you use your veto, you will get a pick. Basically,
If
you
the
will
veto
get
goes
another pick.
through, though.
Exactly. That leads me
the
to
veto, yes.
that leads me to 1A. If Zyger says if I throw down the veto now and Zyger says no, I'm shooting that down. Because again, we've all decided to wait until this last moment. I hate you all to have all this taken care of. If Aaron is pretty much the tiebreaker, I just want to make sure I'm understanding this right. He has the ultimate say of whether to uphold my veto or to shoot it down.
Yeah, that would be the case. So
Okay,
yeah, if you vetoed and Aaron,
that in mind.
Yeah.
Now comes my question for Aaron. Aaron, I know you don't have another shot to put a game on the list.
Yeah.
What game that is already on the list that you want to fight for the hardest during the ranking process?
Oh, you're making a deal.
See, here's the thing, is because I was about to come with you with, what are you going to back me on when we're starting to rank?
Great minds think alike.
So I had Galaxy, I had Persona 5, I had Heart Gold, I had Xenoblade, and I had Animal Crossing.
Yep.
And if you really want to get into the details of it, I have been ranking as we go, so I can tell you already what they are on my list, what I would already default to voting as.
I want it.
So if you want to know where a certain game is already ranked on my list prior to everything going down, I can let you know where it's currently ranked with what we have on the list, and then you can try to do a real great job to recommend that get higher ranked if you so chose.
Where'd you put Persona 5?
Let me do a quick little drop, drag, and line count here. I want to make sure I have all of this right, so...
Oh, I love this.
Okay. So since we have 19 games on the list from whatever Zyger is left to bring, if Marvel vs. Capcom 2 stands, then I am currently sitting at 19 games, which means Persona 5, as it's sitting right now, is currently 13th.
Oh, that needs to be higher.
I will give you Persona 5 in the top 10.
Is that Scott
is
making
that-
deals
Yeah,
now
that's
too?
what-
You're rebuttaling his
Yeah.
offer of me letting of me shooting his veto down.
Of letting Marvel stand. I love Persona 5. I will fight for your games. We're
But I'm
Xeno
not done.
bros.
We're
Xeno bros.
Okay. Yes, Scott makes a compelling argument. Brandon, what do you have left to offer?
Okay, so why is Persona 5 13th? Simple. This list has been ordered from games I have and games I haven't played. For the games that I have not played, what is at the bottom as opposed to the top is the hardest to convince me to ever play in the future. In some hypothetical situation, whatever this game is in front of me, I'm able to play it. How hard or easy it is to convince me to play said game. And so from 19th, I want to make sure I have my count here right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So about from 19 to 8 are all games I have not played. 8 is the easiest to convince me to play. 19th is the hardest to convince me to play. This is important when we actually get to the ranking process. But because of this, I am completely fluid and flexible with every game in between 19 to 8. So, if you want Persona 5 in the top 10, if you want it in the top 5, I'm just saying.
Okay, here's my
I'm
thing,
super
Brandon.
easy to work with.
That's true. And you make a very compelling argument. But here's my thing. I think Scott's going to have my back on a lot more of these games just in general.
I will throw it out there. I will support Brandon's choice and back him what he backs as well with you, Aaron. So you get 2 of us and Scott. And Scott's already going to back you no matter what, right? Like he already has your back on these games.
Nah,
you're
dude.
just also guaranteeing Brandon's vote.
Nah, I would fully expect Scott to just bomb it just cuz.
Yeah, for what? Bubble Bobble?
Absolutely.
No. The fact that Bubble Bobble didn't get vetoed, and same with Mischief Makers, I consider that a victory. I'm here to get these games on people's radars. I have no preconceived notions they'll get high in the ranking. I'm pretty sure they'll all get 20, 19, and probably 18. I think I can argue Metal Gear Ghost Babel a little higher, maybe 15.
Also, Diablo 2 is going to be way higher, for sure.
Oh,
Scott's expecting all of his games to be ranked in the first episode or two of the ranking series.
yeah. I have no grandiose plans that any of mine will get in the top 10. Maybe Marvel. I'm not sure. Maybe Diablo 2. I think Diablo 2 has the best chance.
Yeah,
But
Diablo 2 for sure.
the rest, people are talking about. There were tweets about Bubble Bobble. That's the point. People are thinking.
Yes.
People are like, "What the hell's Bubble Bobble? Oh, that's Bubble Bobble. Cool." And it's going to be the same for Mischief Makers, and that's what I wanted. They're good games that deserve some sort of recognition. So I don't need my games. I buffered. My choices buffered all of your guys' games, so they won't get the last spot. Okay?
And yeah, if you guys had used the vetoes on those games earlier, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Brandon, let me ask you a follow-up question. Are you vetoing Scott right now?
The only thing that is leaving me to say absolutely or not is because since Scott used his veto and he can't veto himself, if I chose to stop Zyger, Zyger's not going to veto himself, which means if I wait, you would have all the power on Zyger's pick. So that's what's keeping me stopping here, is how the vetoes were used and who do I want to veto, because at this point, a lot of you made me mad. So if one of you is getting vetoed, I don't know which
Brandon.
yet.
Let me put this out there. If, Brendan, you veto Scott's pick, I will not veto your pick. Because I already promised Scott I will not veto his pick.
All right.
So I'll keep my promise to Scott, I'll keep my promise to you.
Anakin Skywalker. Like, I feel like he's... This is great.
Because, like, I have no reason to veto your pick, because now I'll just give Scott another pick.
Yeah.
You see,
I'm going to wait
All right.
for
is
my
why I did
decision
not want
to
to
see what
veto.
Brandon does.
This is why I did not want to veto from step one, because I just wanted it to be nice. 20 games. We just get to the
Then
rank,
don't
have a nice
veto,
civil
Brandon.
discussion.
Don't veto.
But you made me mad.
I mean, that
here
is
at this
certainly
last
an option
year,
on the
but,
table.
I don't know.
Brendan, I will back you, no matter what.
Oh, no matter what.
I got you. You're my boy.
That runs into conflict if I use the veto now.
Well, like, if you use the veto now, I won't veto you at all.
But you could, because you've already, Zyger has already made the commitment that he would not side with Brandon in a veto of Scott's game, right? That's because I'm trying to think, like, Scott or Brandon couldn't convince Zyger to align with him and uphold a veto of, like.
Oh no, I will
Zyger,
support Brandon's pick. Yeah, like if Brandon uses his veto, I will support the veto, and Brandon will get a second choice.
Okay, so
So it's down to Aaron if he...
Yeah, it's all on Aaron.
yeah. Well, no, but I'm saying if Scott or if Brandon used his veto now, are you saying that you would support the veto of Marvel vs. Capcom? You just said you wouldn't veto it yourself.
I would not veto it myself.
Right. So if Brandon used the veto, you would conceivably support Brandon's veto, and regardless of what Aaron does, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 would be off the list.
Yes, as long as that's assuming Aaron goes along with the veto, right?
Yes, that is assuming I go along with it.
Because, I mean, it wouldn't... If what I'm saying is... it wouldn't matter, because both you and Aaron would need to agree to uphold Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Oh,
basically.
I see. Okay, yeah, no, you're right.
So regardless of... So in this scenario, if you support Brandon in the veto, it doesn't matter what,
it has to be unanimous.
what Aaron does, because it would have to be unanimous, yeah.
Yeah, support Brandon. So, Brandon, you want your second pick? You got this.
My head
All right,
really
Brandon.
hurts.
I forgot it had to be unanimous.
Yeah,
so Aaron does not have any power.
What?
You know,
So,
He
yeah,
has the power.
If Brandon and Zyger basically align, and Zyger agrees to let Brandon's veto of Marvel vs. Capcom 2 slide, then Brandon
it's not
doesn't need to make a
unanimous.
deal with Aaron for Persona 5's placement on the list. He just has Zyger's agreement, and and Aaron and Scott would not be able to overrule the veto without Zyger.
So I have the power.
Oh,
Plot twist.
I've never been here to over. Oh, wait. Oh, I'm so confused.
Yeah, we had to vote unanimously if you want to overrule the veto.
I'm so confused. Oh, to overwrite the veto, it has to be unanimous.
Yes. And I'm supporting Brendan's choice no matter what, so the game gets vetoed no matter what if Brendan chooses to veto.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So Brandon, what do you want to do? Do you want to veto Marvel vs. Capcom 2?
Okay, we've got it
Or
all
do you want to
narrowed
hold
down.
your veto?
We've gotten everything sorted out, which leads me to my final question. This is the last question I'm going to ask, regardless if I have any more questions, because I want to get this thing going back along here. Zyger, how can I really want to put faith in you, how can I make sure that if I have my pick after yours, that since you've already had your new pick, that you're not going to veto mine after the fact to give Scott a new pick in my play after vetoing me down?
I have absolutely no reason to veto your pick. Since episode 1, I've been planning this out oh, if I get one game vetoed, I get a 6th pick. As long as I get that 6th pick, I'm good. I don't care. So I will not veto whatever it is you chose after me.
Which I guarantee you it's not going to be Dark Legacy again. I'm not having this thing happen a second time.
I'll be honest. The only reason I really want to support your veto is that way you cannot veto me. I'm just putting it out there. If you use your veto now, you can't veto my choice, and I will not veto your choice.
Okay.
All right, Brandon.
Zyger, you screw me over. You're having it the next time we see each other, buddy. I'm throwing it out there.
This is the genie rule number 3. Don't fuck me.
We got him to use his veto, guys. We did it.
Scott wins.
This is the part in the editing, Trevor, where you make my little confetti and says, he did it.
All right, I'll
work on learning After Effects just for that. All right, so Brandon, you are vetoing Marvel vs. Capcom 2, correct?
That is correct.
All right, then Zyger and Aaron, do you wish to overrule the veto or let it stand?
I let it stand.
I
All right.
want Scott to know that I'm on his side, and I would have kept it had I held any power in this situation.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
All right. Arcade, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, vetoed by Brandon. We got Brandon to use the veto, guys.
I hate you
this
all.
Is,
he's been sullied.
This is
He's
a
unclean.
magical day.
I need a shower after this.
Yeah. So
He's gonna
we
wash
have
with sandpaper.
Zyger getting a pick, and Brandon now also will get a round 6 pick. So Zyger, hit us with your. We are basically now out of regulation play, and if this kind of stuff. If this stuff had happened in a prior episode, I might have been like, yeah, we'll do that as a separate episode. But nope, we're here now, so we're just going to crank these couple picks out here in this episode. It'll be a longer episode here for episode 5 as we dive into round 6 now to get... we still need 2 more games for the list. So Zyger, hit us with your round 6 pick.
I already mentioned it earlier, but Stardew Valley on the Tesla dashboard. I double-checked. It got released December 26, 2019.
All right. Stardew Valley on the Tesla dashboard. Obviously, I can't imagine any of us have actually played it on the Tesla dashboard, so just tell us about Stardew Valley in general.
Stardew Valley, it's basically the spiritual successor to Harvest Moon, which I feel like some of you play. I know Trevor's definitely played Harvest Moon type games.
Yep.
I don't know about the rest of the panel. But it's basically a type of farming simulator, but it's a little more than that. You have your farmland, you can do whatever it is you want to do, you can plant certain crops, but the big aspect of Stardew Valley is the relationships within the town and the freedom to do more than just farming. You can go fishing, you can play in the little bar area and do the arcade games, you can go into the mines and fight monsters and stuff. There is a surprising amount of depth within this game, and the relationship building between all of the different town members creates this unique little story, and overall the purpose or purpose in air quotes of the game is to raise enough funds to within 2 years build either like a greenhouse or a bigger house. Basically, the whole idea is you want to make your, I think it's grandfather proud who left you the farm in the first place, because at the start of the game you get a letter from your grandfather who, I don't remember if he's not dead, but you get a letter saying that he's leaving you this farm. You leave.
No, I think I think
dead.
it starts out he's dead. Yeah, he passes away and leaves you the farm.
Okay, I wasn't.
It's been run down.
That.
Yeah, that is the kind of trope of those games, is that like your grandfather, like you went to that farm growing up kind of thing, and now that he has passed, he's left you the farm.
Yeah, so he leaves you the farm. You leave your boring desk job to go live this farm life, and your character starts to be happier. You could have either a pet dog or a pet cat. You can marry certain villagers or towns members, and again, like being able to just build out whatever it is you want in your little farm area. It's just nice, enjoyable. It's fun. It's like a relaxing game that it's like relaxing in like a time management sense, where like, oh, today I want to focus a lot on farming and building up my farm, or today I really want to go into the mines and get special rare minerals that I can either sell for a lot of gold or donate to the museum, or find items so I can romance certain characters. Abigail, best girl, by the way, just putting it out there. But yeah, it's just a fun, like, super chill game. There's no like real big complications within the game. It's just something that people play for fun, and you can put hundreds of hours into that game and it's still constantly really enjoyable. All the different seasons have their own different events, and it's just like a fun little mix up of different little things in like a farming simulator type game.
Yeah, I mean, I've certainly put a ton of time into Stardew Valley. I enjoy those games. I've enjoyed the Harvest Moon likes since the Super Nintendo back in the day. And I felt like I had been kind of out of the game for a while, and then Stardew Valley kind of took the world by storm, especially with the whole, made by one guy, Concerned Ape, kind of narrative behind it, and it was a love letter to kind of classic Harvest Moon games, which Natsume, who made Harvest Moon, had kind of like strayed away from and moved away from, and the Harvest Moon games that typically come out these days are poor imitations of what it used to be. So it was nice having kind of a real Harvest Moon game again with Stardew Valley. This is one, yeah, like you mentioned back before we ever started recording this season, you had mentioned like going out there with wild picks like the Tesla dashboard. So I'm glad we were able to get that out here in the final run of things. But other notable games for the Tesla dashboard, of course, would be Cuphead. So why would this be the better choice? Not that it matters, because you're the only one with a veto left, so you can't veto yourself. But why Stardew Valley over Cuphead?
See, originally I was going to pick Cuphead because I enjoy the platforming. The art direction is amazing in Cuphead. But the other week I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about playing Stardew Valley on Tesla, and I didn't realize that was a thing, so I looked into it, and yeah, it released as like a holiday bundle at the end of last year, and it was just like this free update that happened on December 26th. Like, hey, anyone with a Tesla dashboard can now play Stardew Valley. I'm like, I personally enjoy Stardew Valley far more than I enjoy Cuphead. Cuphead, great game. The problem I have with Cuphead is that it focuses too much on the boss rush elements of the game, whereas they added platforming, but all the platforming sections of the game are clearly an afterthought. It was something they added on because people thought Cuphead was supposed to be a platformer and not just a boss rush game. So that aspect of Cuphead, I think, falls flat. Whereas the bosses are super fun and enjoyable, but as a complete package, I don't think it hits all the right spots because of just the flat added on platforming levels that are more or less uninspiring. Like, they're all right, but they didn't do anything that really made Cuphead feel like something special, whereas the bosses in those games made the game what it is. Like, people know Cuphead because of those bosses and how hard it is. And again, the art style is amazing, but I feel like Stardew Valley as a complete package does so much more as a game, and it, in my opinion, is far more enjoyable and less frustrating. But yeah. And then the
Absolutely.
only other Tesla games are all arcade games like Space Invaders.
mobile games and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw like Fallout Shelter's on there, which I put a ton of time into Fallout Shelter, so that's another game I would give a little shout out to. All right. Anybody else played Stardew Valley?
So good.
Yep. Okay.
So good.
So that was Scott and Aaron have played it.
Yep.
Do either of you want to expand on so good?
So good.
No, I'm going to leave it
So
to
good.
the listeners' imaginations. What's so good? The mystery, you know?
That's fair. All right. Aaron, how about you?
Nah, it's so good.
Yeah,
It's so good.
It's good game is good.
Give-
All right.
Abigail, best
That
girl.
belongs on the back of the box art. Just that nerdy site, ultimate video game list show. So good.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. So good. All right. So that's going to be our Tesla, and it's Tesla Arcade is the actual platform. So,
Okay.
but you play it on the Tesla dashboard.
Yeah, I read when I was reading the article talking about it, it said on Tesla dashboard. I thought that was what they had called it, but okay. Tesla Arcade, got it.
Yep. All right. So there's our Tesla Arcade game on the list. And so we have one game left. And so we're going to throw it to you, Brandon, for game number 20, unless Zyger totally dicks you over here and vetoes whatever you're going to bring to the table.
And that would be most
This will be the last pick.
unwise. It really would, Zyger. Keep that in mind. But for
I
my
made the promise.
But for my selection, I'm going to do something that a little bit slightly different than what Aaron did in round 5. I have a list of all the available remaining platforms, and there are a couple that I can't speak into anything. I have no ground to stand on, and that's the SNES and the Sega systems. So I want to take a moment and just bid farewell to those, as those consoles will not have an entry on the list here, to the best of my knowledge. But
that's very weird to think of, like the Super Nintendo not
Right?
being on a top 20 games list.
and that leaves me with 3 remaining, one of which is the Game Boy Advance. And while I have owned several games for the GBA, the only one that comes to mind that I know that I've played is not really something I can confidently speak about because it's been many years. So again, giving the GBA another little quick second to say shout out. You are not forgotten during this process, but I'm not going to nominate from there. So that leaves with just 2 handheld systems, and I will give it to you, gentlemen. Do you want me to recommend something from the PlayStation Vita or the PlayStation Portable? And keep in mind, with whatever game you're hoping I'm going to bring, it's probably not going to be that. So just full upfront right now, giving you that knowledge at the moment. What are you more curious to hear what I have to bring for either the Vita or the PSP? Majority vote rules.
Vita.
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 And if
All
it's
right.
not Criminal Girls,
Vita has it. So I'm just curious, before you dive into that, what would your PSP game have been?
God of War Chains of Olympus.
Oh,
Okay.
good game.
oh, okay.
Okay,
All right,
So,
what's-
solid pick.
PSP.
PlayStation
All right, so
Vita.
tell us about the Vita game.
I only own 3, well, technically 4 PlayStation Vita games. 3 of said 4 are not eligible. That would be Uncharted Golden Abyss and Final Fantasy X/10-2, that combo. So that means I can only speak about one game on the entire PlayStation Vita. A game that I think is fine. It's not all too fantastic or granular, but it's a solid experience. And that is simply Resistance Burning Skies.
Oh, wow.
Okay. All right, tell us about Resistance Burning Skies.
Resistance Burning Skies is kind of like of the 2 side games from the 3 major console versions, because there is Resistance Retribution for the PSP. Resistance Burning Skies pretty much follows it's like the one campaign that follows during the time of the United States during the Khmer invasion that's not Resistance 2. You play as this firefighter in New York, and it's pretty short. You can get through it in about 6 or 8-ish hours. But for the Vita having a console quality first-person shooter, it actually performs really well. Granted, it is the Vita, so it has a couple of little touchscreen issues like melee attacks and knowing, like, throwing grenades. I think you have to tap the screen on where you want to throw grenades. But it's a pretty solid campaign. You can pretty much mix and modify your weapons, something that you could not necessarily do in the other Resistance games. Of course, in Resistance 3, if you use weapons, you can actually level them up, but in terms of actually modify them, you can do so in Burning Skies. But basically, it's you pretty much follow this firefighter. It's at the moment of the Chimera invasion. Everybody doesn't know what's happening, and then it culminates where you're having to infiltrate this huge Chimera base and take out the base there in an effort to find your wife and daughter. It's a solid time, pretty fun. I mean, of all of the Resistance games, I would say it and Retribution probably tie for probably the hardest to think about, but a lot done handicap me here, but for Resistance Retribution, it's a fun time, a solid gunplay. I really enjoy being able to have that quality FPS on the go that's like not the broken Black Ops Declassified or the pretty okay, in my opinion, the pretty okay Killzone games. But Resistance Retribution is, for the Resistance franchise, and like Gauntlet Dark Legacy, another franchise I just want to highlight, even if it does get backstab betrayed by Zyger, but I'm holding you to it, man. Rule 3, wish 3. But Resistance Burning Skies is a fun time, and if you are a fan of Resistance and haven't played it, I would at least recommend to play it once, just to try it out, and if you like it, hey, fantastic. If you don't, hey, you tried it. So Resistance Burning Skies will be my last nominee to try and get on the list.
All right. Anybody else at the panel has anybody else played Resistance Burning Skies?
Crickets.
Nope. Okay.
Yeah, I think I own it
I've
on
not
Vita.
played it myself either. I've not played any of the Resistance games actually, so I can't speak to that outside of like I just like my thoughts. I like and it wasn't until you mentioned it, but I'm like, I was realizing I confuse Resistance and Killzone all the time because they're both just like shooters in my mind.
Same.
From that I have not played either of those franchises. Or I think I played was because one of them, the PS Vita version, and I think it was the Killzone one, was like a PlayStation Plus game. Like, and so I think I got that, and I like played a little bit of it. Was like, wow, this does not handle well. So I bounced away from that and spent 300 hours trying to platinum and failing Persona 4 Golden. So, yay. So yeah, and I think that was Killzone, not Resistance. So yeah, I've not played Resistance myself. But I'm glad you enjoyed it. So let's talk about other Vita games that this would pull from the list. Obviously Persona 4 being, I think, one of the most notable ones, but it was already out of the running anyway, with Persona 5 already being on our list. And Brandon also mentioned like the Final Fantasy 10 and 10-2, as well as Golden Abyss, Uncharted being off the list. Another one I would want to give a little bit of love to, shout out to, would be Tearaway. And part of that is coming from the fact that I'm playing through Dreams on the PlayStation 4 right now, and it's just reminding me of that Media Molecule charm that I thought Tearaway captured very well. And I also thought it was one of the best ones that utilized all the weird little gimmicks and stuff of the Vita. So shout out to Tearaway. Any other Vita love?
My other Vita game, when I gave you guys the option between that and the 3DS, was specific Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus, because that was the Sly Cooper collection was on Vita.
Yep,
and that was
That's
the
a fun
last
game.
Yep.
That was the last.
Great
that was
game.
the last time to get Sly Cooper on this list, which
womp.
whatever.
No, Sly Cooper. It's another one of those platformers that I never actually have put any time into, but I know it is a very beloved series. So, shout out to Sly Cooper.
I want to give a shout out to Muramasa the Demon Blade on Vita. Really good game from Vanillaware, the side-scrolling action combat ninja game with like 100+ swords that all have unique abilities. Really fun game. Highly recommend you check it out either on the Wii or the Vita, because it's fantastic.
Nice. I'll also give a little love to Severed and the Guacamelee games. Drinkbox Studio putting out a lot of great stuff out there for the Vita over the years. Zyger, anything you want to shout out and give some love to on the Vita?
Criminal Girls invite only, obviously. Criminal Girls 2. Gravity Rush.
the
huge
game
on the
game
Vita.
that made you in the Kind of Funny community.
That is accurate. Very accurate. Criminal Girls, great game. Fun RPG. Gravity Rush. There's Danganronpa, like 1, 2, and 3 also came to Vita.
Yeah. It wasn't called 3
Senran.
though. It was I don't remember what
Yeah,
the name of it
it was
was.
V3.
Yeah. Okay.
Senran Kagura. There was another game series that was on Vita. I can't remember what it was, but it was an
Neptunia?
RPG. Neptunia, that's the one. Neptunia, weird series.
Nice.
I got, I think, the first 5 games on Vita because they keep re-releasing Vita ports for those games. But
Great
yeah.
premise. I love that
was it-
premise of that game. Those games.
Zeiger, was it you a few years ago that posted like a screenshot of Vita and like all of the icons on like one of your pages was like the anime girl with like white or blonde hair or something like that?
Yeah, I definitely posted the screenshot, and every icon was a different anime girl. I was like, yeah, look, all these
Yep.
JRPGs on Vita.
Yep. Velocity games were also pretty good. As more Vita love. Yeah, I mean, like Vita. We mentioned the Wii U walking and Super Smash Brothers Wii U walking so that we could get Ultimate. The Vita definitely was one of those. Like the Vita walked so we could get the Switch. So rest in power, Vita. You left us too soon. Actually, Sony's support left you too soon.
Sony killed
yeah.
it with its proprietary memory card.
There's-
To this
I mean, yeah,
day,
that-
I swear
Yeah.
that was the biggest issue that led to the downfall of the Vita. Was that
yeah,
memory card?
That certainly, that was the effectively like the Connect of the Vita, in that like that artificially jacking up the price or of a Vita, made that one pretty painful. I for a long time, especially as we saw where kind of the PS4 era went, I kept hoping that we would get a Vita 2 that would have a light bar in it and could serve as a controller for your PS4 as well as like a controller for PlayStation VR, and would be a handheld device that you could use and play Vita games with and other mobile games with. But alas, I get that. I was thinking about this not too long ago. I actually ended up playing most of Persona 5 on my Vita because I was playing it through remote play while I was like visiting friends in San Francisco for like an extended weekend. I was out. Nikki Pettit in the Kind of Funny community. I was out there officiating and attending her wedding, and it was right after Persona 5 came out, and so I basically left my PS4 on at home and took my Vita with me and remote played Persona 5 for like a good chunk of that trip on the Vita. So, yay for Vita love. I will throw it to you, Zeiger. Do you want to stand by your word, or do you want to completely stab Brandon in the back, veto it, and give Scott one final choice?
Nah, I'm not mad at my word. I made a promise to Scott that I would not veto his game, and I made a promise to Brandon I would not veto his game. We're all good.
All right. So with that, Resistance Burning Skies is going to round out our list of the top 20 games, ultimate video game list for Season 2. So, now I got to go back through, like, what are all the games that came in this episode? So we had Animal Crossing New Leaf was Aaron's final pick. Minecraft for mobile was Zeiger's pick. Then Brandon and Scott both lost their arcade picks to each other, basically, with Gauntlet Dark Legacy and then Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Zeiger came back with Stardew Valley on the Tesla Arcade, and Brandon has rounded us out with Resistance Burning Skies for the PlayStation Vita. So, solid, very fun, engaging episode. Thank you for letting all of the chaos that I had hoped for with these games, with this show, ensue in the deal making, and yeah, congrats, Scott, on getting Brandon to use his veto. The thing we thought would never happen, we made it happen here in this final episode. So that's going to do it for the game selection portion of our list for Season 2. So starting next week, a couple weeks from when the team here is actually sitting down to record, but next week as you are listening to this episode, we will start ranking our top 20 games. We will rank 20 through 16. So what I'm going to advise kind of the squad here to do between now and when we sit down and record our next episode and Brandon's already been doing it, is kind of like, so you have a starting place for the conversation, rank the top 20 games kind of where you would personally rank them, so we can start out next week with, okay, what is going to be our top or our number 20 game on this list, or what are going to be our 20 through 16, because that is where the conversation goes next, and it's easier to go through that if you guys have kind of those ranked already coming into the conversation. So that's going to do it for this week's episode. You can follow Scott at SolidSnake120. Anything you want to shout out, Scott?
Not right now. Check out irrationalpassions.com for a bunch of PAX content, because we will have that up. And yeah, just do that.
And hopefully the PAX panel that we were a part of will have been recorded and somehow distributed to the masses. If not by now, then hopefully soon.
Yeah.
So cool. You can follow Brandon at GamesGan. What do you want to shout out, Brandon?
Outside of my own Twitter feed, where it's going to be now lamentations of how the last 30 to 45 minutes have made me feel. Thanks for that. I'll just get right back to the to what I was doing a couple episodes prior, and that's shouting out groups, and one that got mentioned at the very end of our last episode. I want to make sure to highlight and shout out the Easy Allies. They are a fun, irreverent group of 9 guys, and they're really fun, make a lot of fun stuff. So if you're into kind of funny and you're thinking about somewhere else you could find other fun, irreverent content, I would recommend giving them a check out, maybe a video or two to see if they're up your alley.
Yeah, I got into around E3 last year. I checked out some of their predictions videos, or not predictions, their bets, E3 bets, and really enjoyed a lot of that stuff. That's the bulk of what I've seen, Easy Allies wise. But like, I always see them pop up, and I'm like, those guys are doing great stuff. I know it. I just don't have enough time in the day to watch all the things I want to watch. So, but yeah, shout out to Easy Allies. You can follow Zyger, one of the arbiters of chaos for this episode, certainly, at Zyger1337. Zyger, what do you want to shout out?
Since we're pre-recording this, just check out myxboxmedia.com, since probably have something up there. And I just want to say, I had a real fun time with this episode.
It's good.
I've been playing this since episode 1.
Yeah, you got your 6th pick in there, and none of yours got vetoed. So yeah, you got
right?
you are the only one on this list that has 6 games on the list. So that well played, Zyger. Well played. You can follow Aaron at Aaron_Mahler. What do you want to shout out, Aaron?
I forgot to last episode, but Skukang is coming out with a new show series called Indie Spotlight, where we interview awesome indie developers, talk about their games, really try and get the word out on cool indie games you might not have heard of. So that'll be out. It'll be like a week and a half old by the time this comes out, but yeah, that'll be out soon, which is cool.
Very cool.
I'm sure there's a new episode of the Scootcast out with ridiculous antics, and I've probably yelled at Evan a lot since then.
Those are the best kind of antics.
Yep.
As this episode has revealed. Great, yeah. Go check out all that stuff. I'm very excited to hear about the indie show. You can follow me at Trevor J. Starkey, and you can follow everything from That Nerdy Site over at That Nerdy Site on Twitter or thatnerdysite.com. And I will echo kind of what Scott said, because we are pre-recording this. I'm unless chaos really reigned, there should be a lot of PAX coverage up on the site, and hopefully our YouTube channels as well. So check out all that stuff. And remember to like, rate, review, subscribe, follow us everywhere you can. And if you are feeling really generous, you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/thatnerdysite. So that's going to do it for this part of the show. We will be back next week to begin ranking the games. As I said, we will start by ranking games 20 through 16 on this top 20 list. So it's going to be a fun, good time. And yeah, that's where the conversations, I think, really start shining. As has been alluded to a little bit, I think Scott's picks might dominate the first episode or two.
It'll be the Scott episode
of the ranking.
At least 3 of them.
Yeah, and that was very much the mentality that Logan had in season 1 with Nightfire. Was like, he didn't care that where it ended up on the list. He just cared that it was on the list, and he ended up getting even in like the final episode where we're celebrating number 1, he was celebrating Nightfire being our 18th best game of all time from that list. So yep, you got at worst, Bubble Bobble is going to be, the 20th best game of all time, according to this list. So it'll be fun. We will look forward to diving into that soon. So as always, thank you guys for joining me. Thank you for listening. Stay nerdy and be good to each other.